Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TV Pilot Reviews here on AfterBuzz TV. Today we're talking about Showtime's brand new dark comedy drama On Becoming a God in Central Florida. Try to say that 5 times fast. So guys, we're about to get into our JOB jobs to tell you all about what we thought of this pilot. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to TV Pilot Reviews here on AfterBuzz TV. This is your weekly show where we tell you all about what we think of Hollywood's hottest pilots that are coming out. The music is really blasting today, huh?
I love it.
It's very
get me in the mood.
pump up music for sure.
The mood.
So we will be talking all about Showtime's brand new comedy On Becoming a God in Central Florida. It is executive produced and starring Kirsten Dunst, among some other very notable actors and actresses. And I'll be getting into it with my wonderful co-hosts, including, I'll start in the end, Ms. Tara
It's
Erickson.
me. I get to go first. Hi, I'm
Yes.
Tara Erickson.
And the incomparable Linda Antwi.
Hey guys.
You guys have seen Linda and Tara on a bunch of our shows. Tara covers a lot of our comedy stuff, and Linda covers a lot of our drama stuff. So it's kind of perfect because I feel like this show is the perfect synthesis of the two, don't you think?
It really is.
It is.
Okay, so as I mentioned, guys, this is a show called On Becoming a God in Central Florida. It aired on Showtime on Sunday. It is now Wednesday. We're covering the show, and as of this exact moment, we don't have an after show for this. This is just a review of the pilot, but the producers are working to get an after show for this. And if we especially get a lot of engagement in this video and a lot of comments letting us know what you think, we will make it happen. So, just so you guys know what the run on the show is going to look like real quick, we have 2 sections. We have a spoiler-filled section and a spoiler-free section. I said them out of order. We'll be starting with the spoiler-free section, logically, but we will notify you when the spoiler section comes. The top of the show, we'll be talking in general terms about the development of the show, sort of our overall thoughts, and then we'll get more specific as we go.
Love it.
Tara, I know you're excited about this show because we
Yeah.
actually just watched it together. What did you think of the pilot?
I loved it. Oh my gosh, I love this show. Also, I wrote down 1992, dream a big dream when you could still have dreams. I felt like the 90s were like dreams. And now it's like, this show's great. I love everything about it. The outfits, the vibe, the dialogue, the writing. It's great. I adore it.
Linda, what'd you think?
I mean, I loved it. I agree with everything you're saying. I think like the 90s, you know, I'm still growing up, but I was thinking of like all the people that I know that were doing like Amway and like the pyramid scheme stuff. And it was like so dead on. I'm like, oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah. And I just loved how it was filmed. I love the costume design. I love the writing, directing, all of it. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, this pilot's really working already. It's rare that a show comes out of the gate with such an assured sense of self and, you know, a strong sense of tone. A lot of times shows that take big swings like this don't necessarily hit the home run.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a show that was like a year ago that was very similar, but it was on Showtime as well. Like
Kidding?
What is it?
Kidding with Jim Carrey?
That's it.
Yeah, I think we maybe liked, didn't love that pilot. I know our after show really enjoyed that show,
Yeah.
but I think this is even potentially working better than that. Kidding just didn't have quite enough comedy for me to really believe it.
Yeah.
Whereas this was very funny.
Very relatable. Very like, oh, you know, you're trying, like you said, trying to be successful. The 90s, you're still like hopeful, like, oh my God, I can do it. And, you know, can you?
The thing I appreciated was, as funny as it was, there's just this very tangible, quiet sense of tragedy that's like in every frame of this show.
Yeah.
Something about this was so sad, and it's hard to point to exactly what, but it wouldn't say it's depressing. I would just say it's kind of got this umbrella of sadness that's coating every scene and every performance.
Well, the umbrella of sadness is, you know, you look at and you hear from that everything, America is the dream, right? Like anything is possible in America. You're living the dream. If you set your goals, you can do it. And then you have this husband who completely eats that up. And, you know, he's not living his best life. You know? And so it's like sad because he believes it. And there was a quote somewhere in there, I wrote it down, where he was talking about like, how can you do this? And he's like, well, it's hope. Yeah, it's hope. It's hope that we all have, that we work hard and we'll succeed, but that's not necessarily the case, which, you know, cue the sad music.
Yeah, sad violins playing now.
Yeah.
But I want to make clear to our listeners, I think on paper when we discuss the show, it's going to sound like a depressing show.
It's not.
But it's not.
Super funny.
No, it's very funny. And I think if you're a fan of sort of if you like your chocolate dark, this is a show that you'll want to watch. But it's still chocolate, I think. You know.
I don't know what that means, but I'll say this: if you like intelligent writing, and if you think that smart writing is funny, then you're gonna love this show.
Definitely.
Yeah. Alexander Skarsgård made me laugh out loud multiple times. His acting, 100%. It's not just the writing. And also, I think it's more like a bubbling and anxious feeling that it gives you instead of sadness that you cannot wait to see what happens next. This pilot will leave you wanting more.
It certainly will. Interestingly, Showtime has released both the pilot and the second episode on YouTube for free.
I cheated.
That's Linda's always the one who's cheating, but that's good. You can get our perspective for just the pilot, and then Linda, you can give us a little tease as to what you thought of episode 2.
Cheated.
Speaking of Alexander Skarsgård and Kirsten Dunst, who play the leads of this show, let's go ahead and talk about other cast members in this show. Linda, I'm going to let you take the lead.
Yeah, so we have Kristen Dunst. She plays Crystal Stubbs. You know her from Spider-Man, Interview with a Vampire.
Jumanji.
Yes, Jumanji. I didn't write that down.
She's a little girl.
Yeah, Marie Antoinette.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring
That's
it
the
on.
one. Torrance.
Drunk History, Black Mirror, Fargo. You know her. She's a familiar face.
Yes.
And then we have Theodore Pellin, who plays Cody. You know him from Genesis, Family First, Boost, The OA, Boy Erased, Genesis, Family First. He looks very serious in that photo. It's interesting.
He's 22, this kid.
Is he? He looks much
Crazy.
older than
I
that.
know. Definitely.
Yeah.
22? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have Mel Rodriguez. You know him as Ernie. He's from Little Miss Sunshine, The Watch, Panic Room, Endgame, We Bare Bears, The Last Man Standing, and Overboard. His character is so interesting in this. I kind of didn't understand it. Like, you're mourning for... I kind of did, but I didn't. But anyways.
We'll get specific for those of you guys who want our inside thoughts on the episode.
Then we have Beth Ditto, who plays Bets. You know her from Nocturnal, Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. Yeah. Chat Room, American Idol. She's an American Idol girl.
Nice.
2 seasons.
Oh, cool.
Here and Now. And then we have Ted Levine, who plays Obi Gabriel the second. You know him from Silence of the Lambs, Shutter Island, Wild Wild West, and The Fast and the Furious.
Great. So those are the 5 series regulars.
Oh, wait. Is there one more that I put? Yes. I can't even remember.
Usman Ali?
Yeah, that's him. I like him as an actor.
Oh, he plays the boss, Stan.
Yeah, sorry, Usman.
I see him everywhere.
Yes. He plays Stan Van Garden in a series of...
Does it say Suits?
Yep.
Suits and Veep.
Yep.
He's been in both.
Veep
I think
and
he's an
Suits,
improviser.
Yeah.
I think he's a comic too. I
Yes.
think I've seen him do some
Comedy
stand-up.
guy.
Yes. Well, this is the point of the show. We talk a bit about the development before we dive into specifics. These writers are truly first-timers. They have I went to the IMDb. Robert Funke and Matt Lutsky co-wrote this pilot. Robert Funke has 3 credits on IMDb.
Yeah.
Matt Lutsky truly has 1 credit on IMDb.
Which is this.
And it's showrunning and creating On Becoming a God in Central Florida on Showtime.
I love it, though.
I know.
You know what I love about it is go ahead and give people an opportunity and fresh blood, fresh talent, because that's what we always want. And it hardly ever happens because it's who you know, and I've done this, so I'm going to do this. So, bravo, Showtime. Bravo.
Yeah, go-getters go get.
Yeah.
And they seem like go-getters who go and went and have a Showtime show now.
Go get it. Nice. Go getters, go get. Yeah.
Which is super funny.
Yep.
Yep.
You're right. The symbolism of the fact that they wrote a show about Scrappy.
They are those people.
Yep.
They pyramid schemed their way all the way to Showtime.
They sure did.
Interestingly, it actually wasn't necessarily Showtime who gave them the springboard to make this happen.
I know. So originally developed in 2017 to air on AMC and got shuffled around for 2 years. 2019, a year after it was completed, the series was moved to Showtime.
Yeah, it was originally going to air on YouTube. And in terms of development and actually creative contribution mentions early in the process, it was George Clooney's production company, Smokehouse Pictures. So George Clooney's actually an EP on this show. And he was the one who plugged Kirsten in when he read the script. He thought she'd make a great lead, and then she came on as an EP. And you just got to get your script in the hands of the right people.
And you have to have patience, because if we start at 2017 and now we're almost at 2020, you just never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
In some ways, you could almost argue that's fast. A couple years for turnaround from script to, But, you have, this is Smokehouse Pictures, which is George Clooney's production company. They've, of course, done a ton of films. They did Argo, most recently Suburbicon, a lot of movies, but this is their first foray into television. So.
Is Catch-22 not his?
That's a great point, because he definitely EP'd that show.
Yeah, and it was fantastic.
Linda might be right on that. Based on my research on the Wikipedia for Smokehouse Pictures, I only saw Unbecoming a God, but I could have sworn also.
Yeah, Catch-22 was him.
Either way, they're new into TV, and this is one of their early entries. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I think you might be right. Okay, that's development. I think at this point, you've heard our overall thoughts on the show. We're going to really just quickly let you know other shows that are like this, just in case you want to hear, in case you've seen some other shows. I'm going to right off the top say Claws. I don't know if you guys have seen that show, but I covered the first 2 seasons on the after show. That is about middle-class women hustling in Florida. So a lot of parallels. And I'm also going to say Magnolia, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Tom Cruise plays a character who's like this kind of up-and-coming pyramid scheme guy, and his performance reminded me a lot of Alexander Skarsgård. So if you've seen those two and like them, definitely check out this show.
Gosh, you guys, I don't know. I mean, I saw Alexander and thought of the HBO show that he's in. What, Big Little Lies?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do. I don't know.
I
Pyramid scheme things.
Similarly unhinged character, though. I would say. If you liked Skarsgård's performance in Big Little Lies, you will love it.
Yeah. In this, you'll be like, "What?" I would suggest just watching it to see the difference in how amazing he is.
Yeah.
I cheated a little bit, and so IMDb said if you like, and there's a few shows that they brought up. So. The new Beverly Hills 90210, the remake.
Interesting.
They said it would be very similar to that. This Way Up, City on a Hill, and the show Why Women Kill, which I watch, which I agree that it's very like, oh, okay, I see why.
Great. Well, clearly,
dramatic.
The 3 of us really like the show, guys. I'd say we're all plays on the show.
Play all day.
Definitely.
Me too. So highly recommended from us. And at this point, if you want to know nothing else going into the pilot, just our recommendations, this would be the time to tune out. If you still want to hear what we think of specifics in this pilot, it is time for our spoiler section.
What?
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about some specifics. I think pretty quickly, Tara and I were both blown away by both performances, but I love seeing Alexander Skarsgård in this role.
Me too. I mean, just all of his nuances that he brings to performance is great. The fact that they give him a complex, can't get hard. That's what it is. That I thought really fit in with his character. To be able to write the rest of it once it came out 3/4 of the way through the pilot, you're like, oh, I get it now. This is why he is that person.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I thought it was a great just one-off line that he throws in there whilst having a fight with his wife. Yeah, he's great. So is Kirsten. It's good stuff.
Again with the spoiler alert. So I was shocked that they killed his character off in
I know.
the pilot. Like, I didn't believe it. But then after they killed him off, I was like, oh, I see what they're going to do. So my prediction is that, Crystal, she's going to actually become the millionaire that she doesn't believe that she can be or this company can provide.
Yeah.
Fab or fam or
I totally agree.
I was shocking.
Yeah. Totally shocking.
And can I say one thing?
Yeah.
So I have some coworkers who are from Florida, and the only experience I have in Florida is Miami, South Beach, which I love, and like going to Arkansas, which is still in the Bible Belt. But the rest of Florida is nothing like those 2 cities, and alligators are a real thing.
Yeah.
And a coworker told me about. Long story short, they were having a dispute with a fast food company. And they decided that they're going to throw the alligator in through the drive-thru. And I was like, well, you just had an alligator in your car in the back seat? Like, is that a thing? And it's a thing. Like, the alligators are a huge thing in Florida.
Yeah.
So, like, for the car to go in the lake and, like, him to, like, get eaten up by an alligator and her to go and shoot the alligator, all of it is true. Like, it's not just, like
TV writing.
TV writing or, you know, dramatic it's real. I was like, oh, she went and did that for real, for real.
Crazy. I mean, one thing I really appreciated about Alexander Skarsgård's performance in this is I sometimes get frustrated when shows cast really attractive people and try to convince me that they're not. Yeah. And I think it's hard for actors. You know, it's like, obviously it's tough sometimes in this business if you don't have conventionally attractive looks to book. But let's be real and talk about how if you're a very specific type, if you're just inherently a beautiful person, it can be hard to play down those roles. And, you know, I was really impressed. Part of it was the prosthetics and the set design and the costuming, but I think really good-looking actors have to make character choices and physical choices to dress down their attractiveness. And I thought Alexander Skarsgård did a great job of convincing me that he was a depressed, insecure, lower-middle-class Florida guy.
And Kristen did the same thing.
For sure, you're right.
Like her body, like
category.
when she was like, all of it, I was like, oh, she's consciously making an effort to like not come across as if she's, you know, beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And the braces helped.
The braces definitely helped.
Yeah. I feel like just to hit the note that there was a lot of foreshadowing for Crystal's character because she says her two lines are like, I don't beg, which I loved that moment, and I won't be poor again, which I wrote down and saying like, oh, okay. All right. So like if you're not going to beg and you won't be poor again, you're going to have to make some big sacrifices. And now she's going to have to with the old fam. Yeah. She's going to be a founder's woman.
Yeah. And even talking about the neighbor who, you know, they're trying to rope in. And because, you know, I did cheat you guys and I did watch the second episode. But to see how I think that they're going to play it out where he's basically in love with her.
Wow.
And, you know, he loves his family, but he's in love with what he thinks that she presents. It's an interesting dynamic for sure.
I was kind of surprised as I was watching this to realize that we haven't really seen a prestige TV show about pyramid schemes. And it's such a ubiquitous part of a specifically American culture.
Yeah.
You know, if you've been on Facebook, that you see it every time. People are posting these fitness things. And I feel like, again, with movies like Magnolia, we've seen this kind of thing before, but I'm excited about the idea of a show that's going to focus on the American experience through like skeezy capitalism.
Yeah.
You know, it's just surprising we haven't seen this yet because it seems like such a, for lack of a better word, like cash grab.
Yeah. I feel like people who get into it are too embarrassed, obviously, to say, hey, I got into a pyramid scheme and now I'm out, but I'm poor. We don't see that. You only see the top of it. And I think this shows the actual tragedy within it that, you know, people suffer.
Yeah.
That, and I think that some people who are in it don't realize that they're in it. And that's why they still exist.
Right.
Do you know, like I think of, without actually naming them, but there's still ones that are out today where you see people are still like all for it, you know, and drinking the shakes and selling the product, and you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But like it's only like the 1% is making money. Like, why are you at my day job too if you're like a platinum member? You know, it's weird. It's super weird.
Yeah. I want to go back to this scene, which was probably the most memorable scene of the pilot, which was when we watch Alexander Skarsgård get ripped in half by an alligator. This worked for me, but it was a big choice. Did this work for you guys to take such a huge swing? Did it play funny to you guys? Did it play tragic to you guys?
For me, it played funny, but I wasn't buying it at first because when he put on like the tuxedo and the gloves, I was like, what, is he having a dream sequence? Like, what exactly is happening right now? And then when I realized he was leaving his job and like jumping all into this whole pyramid scheme, I was like, oh. And then his mentor who was like egging him on with the limo, I was like, do I buy it? Do I not buy it? But then what I bought was the fact that he believed 1,000%. He was given an ultimatum the night before by his wife. So he was like, I'm going to show her that I can provide and we're going to be millionaires and all of this stuff. And then, you know, it all went south. And we already saw that he's not sleeping enough, he's working too much, and we already saw the white, what was it, like a...
The white limo?
No,
it was like an elk.
Oh, the moose or whatever.
Was it a moose or whatever?
An elk.
Yeah.
Right, so we already saw that he had like illusions for the first like 20 minutes, and then we saw it again and he's off the road again, but this time it wasn't as great as last time where he was able to recuperate. So you think he survives, which I thought he was going to survive. He's like, oh my God, I didn't think I was going to make it. And then this alligator came out of nowhere. I was like, oh, we're in Florida for sure.
It's Florida. Yeah. Do you guys, it's funny, I think sometimes with Florida, it can be easy to sort of like make that state like a caricature, like weird Florida. Did you guys think this show pushed like the caricaturization of Florida too far, or did you think it was insensitive, or how did you guys?
I feel like it could have been any other suburban town with like just hardworking people that fall into this trap. I think specifically maybe the alligator part, sure, like diving into a swamp, getting eaten by an alligator. But I feel like even before that happened, the dead pigeon was the biggest piece of foreshadowing I've ever seen, and was a great move in writing in my part, because it was Alexander who was the only one who actually noticed it. No, I feel like the alligator part would maybe be the only thing that they might be pushing a little too hard. But other than that, I didn't feel like they pushed any characteristics that were like super hard on Florida. I think it really could have taken place anywhere, but I think it's like Alexander and Kirsten, their performances are so convincing, and like, you know, they become like these people that sure you might not see as often in like a prestige town, but in Florida they're, I don't know.
I thought it was dead on. I thought it was dead on. I thought like the pageant stuff was dead on. I thought the like ATVing stuff was dead on.
Rebel Rapids.
Yeah.
Yes.
All of it. I thought like it was definitely stereotype, but I also thought it was dead on. And also the pride in being from that area. Yeah. Because it's huge, right? So when that guy came from California and had like a different idea of what this whole pyramid scheme should look like, and he's like, well, no, we're so-and-so territory. It's that. Like, if you're from there, you have a pride because you born and raised and experienced that maybe you don't know any better. But at the same time, you appreciate where you're from, which is like that small town mentality, which, you know, if you're from a big city like New York, LA, Chicago, you're not going to get that. You're not going to appreciate. It's not like it's
the closeness,
small,
like the closeness.
Yeah, just
the
like
bootstraps.
what's the word of the like the
Intimate.
I know,
Small town
nuances of a city like that.
It's true. I think the thing that's making this show work, because I think like one wrong tick in either direction of comedy or drama, the show stops working well. I think it's really hard to make a show like this work because it's so risky. I think two things are really helping that. I think in general, the direction and the writing are very empathetic. So even when, you know, we're seeing these characters in poor circumstances, maybe owing to their own poor judgment, there's still this really like tangible sense of empathy that I think is grounding the show. And I think these performances are just so good. Like, I think if Kirsten Dunst or Alexander Skarsgård or really anyone in this show takes it one notch too far or not far enough, the show falls apart. It's really, this balancing act is really impressive.
I agree. I think Cody did a really good job. He has funny lines like, I don't have friends, I have business partners.
Yeah.
Which, like, in any other comedy, you could say that line and be hilarious, hit the comedy really hard. But for him, he rides a fine line in saying a lot of hilarious things that a pyramid scheme guy would say.
Yeah.
But he's really, I mean, like, you believe the kid. I mean, most of the time throughout this entire pilot, I was just sitting there going like, oh my God. And I was like, no. Oh my God. Like, that was me the whole time.
It was great.
Once Jeff left the trailer, I felt safe enough to just, woo! Yeah.
That's funny. I'm really fascinated by Ted Levine's character as Obi. We really only get one appearance from him, a lot of VO from him, but his, I really, really am interested in characters with just that magnetic cult of personality, motivational, L. Ron Hubbard-esque.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much we'll see of him, but that might have been my standout moment of the pilot, was when he turned that memorial service into an inspirational pyramid scheme seminar.
Yeah, and then when he was like, I flew here on my own dime.
Yeah.
Really? Did you?
And the way that he was sitting, in my opinion, when you see him enter and he's like, you must be Crystal. Yeah. And then he is sprawled out in a chair, not sitting up straight. He does not care. No. And you're like, oh my God, that's that guy.
Yeah, it's that guy.
Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, I don't know. And that's like, those are choices that I look at that I'm like, is that the actor's choice or direction? Either way, love it.
Yeah.
Tara, say to me, you killed my husband.
You killed my husband.
Crystal, an alligator killed your husband.
Ah!
That moment is pretty good.
It's great. It's great.
Great pilot. Any other standout moments for you guys that we haven't touched on yet?
Ooh, when she gets the shotgun. I was like,
yeah.
girl, go get
Yes.
it. I love that they kept the shot in when she goes into the garage and she has a golf club and she's like, all right, I know that was not directed, obviously, to catch it on the tennis ball thing, but they kept the shot of her just being like, oh my God, like get it off. And like, I loved it because that's not written in, and I adored that scene. And I love the ending, and I cannot wait to watch the second episode. Now that I know it's on YouTube, I'm obsessed.
Great.
Yeah, I watched the second episode, and the second episode is just as great. And I think that what I loved film-wise was, I think this is probably the second episode, so I'll just rewind a little bit. What I loved about her is, like when going to the conference and like standing up for your man and all of this and knowing that you can afford it and knowing that you're all in, but you're not making any money. And she's like, you're wearing this $300 suit that we can't afford. So she puts like these maxi pads everywhere so that he doesn't like sweat into his suit. I was like, oh my God, that's genius. I never even would have thought of that.
Oh my God, girl, I use them.
They're probably the Fam brand maxi pads, though.
They probably are.
Who knows
they are.
if they work?
Of course they are.
I just want to say one thing. Does Fam not make plastic gloves? What is she doing on the floor? Did plastic gloves not exist in the 90s? Because she's
good point.
picking up gross stuff, and I'm like, where are the gloves, Rebel Rapids?
But I think in the 90s, we weren't really that super sensitive like we are now.
Germophobia.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that like you just did
we
your
didn't
thing.
have Purell then.
All of that.
I will say, there's one thing about the show that doesn't work for me.
What?
The title.
Yeah, the title's terrible.
It's not very good. I think if you're going to have a long title, there needs to be a very specific reason. And I don't know. I just think it's a little awkward.
It's a lot awkward. And when we were saying that we're going to be covering this show, I was like, oh, what is this about? I get very... The disclaimer is I grew up very religious. So I think that anything that touches with God and comedy is like super weird to me. And so like becoming a god like struck some weird chords for me. And the title, I was it was just too much for me personally, and so I didn't think I was going to like it, and I came in with that attitude, and it completely won me over in the first 10 minutes.
I feel like the title card could have been moved to the end, right after she shoots the alligator and she screams, and just be like, on becoming a god in
You're
Central
right.
Florida. Because that was what brought it all together for me, of like, oh, I get the title now. This is great. Totally agree with it. Becoming a god. She's going to do it. Central Florida. Let's do this.
That's a good point.
That's how I felt.
Get Tara on. Let her direct
Woo-hoo!
this show.
Bring me on.
The last segment of our show is when we rate the pilot. And we're going to do that right now at 5
baby.
stars. I'm giving this a 4.4. Personally.
5 all the way.
Oh, wow.
I cannot wait.
I love a 5. I've only given 1 5 out on this show.
I've never given a 5 out on
I've
this
never
show
given
yet.
a 5 out. I'm going to go 4.6.
Great. So we love it. That's an average of like a 4.78. It's
Yeah.
very high.
It's very good.
I gave a 5 to Maisel. That's the only pilot I've given a 5 to.
I wasn't here
I
then.
would have given a 10 to that. I adore that show.
It's a great show. This is close, though. I will say I would not be surprised, speaking of Maisel, if we also see Kirsten Dunst nominated in the same category as Rachel Brosnahan
Yep.
when award season comes around next year.
Yep.
Especially if they build this as a comedy. Very interesting performance from her.
Yes, I agree.
She's great. Okay, guys, that was our TV pilot review coverage of On Becoming a God in Central Florida, airing on Showtime on Sunday nights. As I mentioned, we currently do not have an after show for this, but based on our reactions to the pilot, and especially your reactions, we're doing our best to get one together. So please keep your eyes tuned on, boy, does this air on the comedy channel on AfterBuzz or the dramas channel on AfterBuzz?
All comedy all day.
I think it's probably a comedy, but it's 45 minutes, so that's the confusing... Either way, here's what you should do. You should subscribe to both, and then whenever it drops, you'll know that it's there.
Yep.
Speaking of subscriptions, guys, we just want to thank you really quick for tuning into our show and our networks. This is AfterBuzz TV, and we are the ESPN of TV talk because we cover anything that airs on TV. We cover everything from soaps to dramas. Obviously, I like well-made, well-written shows, but I also love The Bachelor, and I cover that here. So this is a safe place to love all television, and we would ask that you guys would subscribe to one or more of our channels. Show us some love. We really appreciate it because we bring you this content for free because we're passionate about TV. That rhymed, tee-hee-hee. Let's get out of here, don't you see?
Please.
Tara, where can they find you on the internet?
Guys, you can find me everywhere. Tara Erickson, especially on YouTube. TaraErickson.
All across social media, Linda is so girly.
You guys can find me on Twitter at Jeffrey C. Graham or Instagram at Jeffrey Crane Graham. As I mentioned, if you're into The Bachelor, I cover that Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. Sorry, that's 8 p.m. Pacific. It's been a long week. Guys, we'll see you here next Wednesday on TV Pilot Reviews. Thank you for tuning in.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.